Hi everyone, it's Jen from Mind's Eye. We're going to go ahead and do the May 2025 New Moon Psychic Medium Astrological reading. So basically, you need to know is that Gemini is going to be really just very careful. They have a hard time grounding and actually looking into reality to the highest point of like being known. And it really comes in as like a flood works, and it's really hard to actually understand exactly what is going through. But it really has to do with Cassiopeia. And when Cassiopeia comes in with Perseus, it comes in through to the highest point of known, which really is almost like a curse out right through the bones. And when you see it right through and hard, you can't even get anything like in a way to an array to a like array, all forms of the spelling that you can't even see it coming. So let's actually look what is it going to like because usually they're pretty good. All right. What do we need to know about this new moon in May? It really is alluding to some sort of recklessness that has some money with from a loss. So when I see this and I see this Eight of Cups, it really comes in through as type of walk away to a deceitful ness that came through that lost a lot of like inheritance, a lot of securement with money, maybe trending stocks, maybe like retirement funds, to where you see it and you see this difficulty in the collective coming through. And when you see the world actually in reverse, you can't complete out anything well. So when I see the Mother of Wands, there is something sitting and like they're really, for lack of a better term, like I said, I keep hearing tranquil. They're tranquil and they're calm. I really feel like it's almost like a state of grace, and it's highly dictative, where it's a form of source. And when I see that it is a little bit of hidden motives with this High Priestess in reverse, and I really have to say there's some people who are just a little upset on how it played out. But when the Eight of Wands comes in and there's like a lack of communication, and it really is no one's fault that is having this issue with communication, you have to say they sit pretty honorably. So when I look at it and I see the 10 of Wands, you see this hard burden come through. But when you look at it and you see the Emperor in reverse, it really has to do with this flow of male energy, whether it's female or not, coming in and out. And that is why we're having more protests again. That is why we're talking about tariffs again. That's why we're talking about everything just flowing right through. Now, it really is a bipartisan at a task by a 15 because something came in and it seemed a little counterintuitive. So when we look at this and it came in really strong right through like beginning of April, you're going to see the results on how it played out by mid May. But then when you actually see the Son of Wands with this new moon right here, right at the end, it really was this snuff out that couldn't get done. And when you look at it and you say, you couldn't even see it coming whatsoever, that this Nine of Swords comes in and says, you know, where is this like whole idea of where everything could be, where the Father of Cups really represents the King of Cups, and they're sitting balanced, attuned, and like kind of like getting their energies back together. The Seven of Cups really looks like all these options look like grandiose, but we talked about a cutout, like cutting cords even further. I feel like all of a sudden people start thinking around this new moon, like, did we actually get it out and we actually did the cut? So when I see it come through, it's called residual. And it depending on how deep that like cord or that tie or that bond is, it could take years for it to like get out. Here we go. What else do we need to know about May new moon? There's really not a lot of like opportunities for learning or working together. I'm seeing around like a 3 to 4, and it really is strong. But there are fulfilled wishes around it. There's almost like a counting and like I'm hearing like people running and chatter. It you'll feel it if they cut a cord or they cut you loose. When you see this and you see the chariot in reverse, it like stops you from what you're doing. When you see the 6 of Wands, you go to the whole idea that you can't even do, that it goes right through the whole thing of fulfilled wishes to a victory. Now, when I'm seeing this, I'm seeing a victory. I'm seeing as politics with the new moon of trying to do a gap. To where, they try to do the gap, it really is more of like counting in on how well everything is going through. So when I actually look at it and you say there is this balance coming in, that you can't even believe this 7 of Wands comes in and says, you can't be guarded whatsoever. Because the 5 of Cups says, there's a lot of loss, LOSS. Yep. So after, when a new moon actually like consecutively reveals how well it actually was effective on a cord cutting ceremony, or something of a natural disaster that came through from last month where there was this huge incident in an oil in a port in another country. You couldn't believe where it actually ended. So here we go. Let's look at the runes. Here we go. Black obsidian. This new moon literally comes in and goes, it really was something hidden. It really went deep. It will still troll you. It will still give you a little bit of an ulcer. It will still flow through, and it's all of a sudden grounding in reality of what really happened. It has to do with a type of well. And when you look at it and you go and you sit at like maybe a meeting, a town hall meeting or committee, you can't even see how well it comes through. Really well. You can't even believe how well it was to the highest point of everything, where it was born again. And you say it was born again. It wasn't anything of that measure, but you can't even believe how hard it was to actually get in. So when you actually look at it and how it torched that incident, the whole globe, it feels like it goes back to the year 1811, where it was just a bomb of energy. Holy cow, I couldn't even get it out. It really was still a hard block, still like an occulted lock. All right, let's see what else. What else do we need to see on this new moon? It really is. So I feel like the runes don't want to actually go away. When it actually moved about, and it really wrapped up, when I see this, it really was about maintaining wealth in that country. And when you see how well, like when I see Degas and I see where that energy is, where they had those ties, you couldn't have solidified it even better. It really helped like continuance on throughout ages which is normal in witchcraft to wizardry when done proper, that you can easily just do instinct and intuition. You didn't have to use all of yourself. There's almost a foresaying that it would come in through, but why would it actually be a positive at this point? It really was just this natural energy that came through that like escalated through to the whole point of everything, where it like ashed it all and came in through so hard that you can't even be it apart. It was like a gift, which is really hard to say because there was loss. It is highly defensive and it is respectful. You have to be solid on it and say, I am very sorry for what happened, but ties were broken and some things had to be broken also. We're not the ones that are actually deeming it. And when seeing it, it really was universal deemed. We had no control and we could not see it coming. So when I actually look at this to the highest extent of everything, that you can't even keep a flow through, even through maybe 3 months later, there has to be a breaking of a tie because maybe it was just too toxic. Maybe it was just too ill. Maybe, all those individuals who may have been on that line globally for many, many centuries could have been like even more ill. It's really hard to tell who is the true judge in the universe. All right, going on. Let's go. What else do we need to know? I'm seeing that finances really come through. I'm seeing support more in the month of June. And when you see this and you see the King of Swords, it had to do with so many contracts that the clauses to the steps and the tiers really were the unfulfilled wishes that were forgotten or not looked at, fulfilled, where you have to sit logically and say, did you actually do it? So that is filtering through. And I feel like that is why Gemini in the beginning of that new moon in May really is hard on them. Because when you see it, it comes through again, the Queen of Wands. It's sitting quietly because there's no communication. So when you see this and you go to the Phoenix, you can't even believe how hard it is to actually be like a spring has sprung, to a fiery new beginning, a reborn, and getting back on track. So with that being said, that's all you have to know about the new moon in May. Any questions or concerns, please leave a like, a comment, a share, an email. It is greatly appreciated, and we'll talk to you soon.